be poor. Make a vow of poverty. Give everything you have away and live a life of sacrifice. That's what the Bible teaches, right? Many people have this impression, right? And perhaps it's even from messages like the one we gave last week on being generous and giving and all that. And we kind of have this idea, I think a lot of people, that the Bible teaches that we shouldn't have a lot of money. We shouldn't make a lot of money, that we should give it all away and that our earnings should be modest. But I believe that the Bible teaches a different message than that. And in fact, I believe that the Bible teaches us to be prosperous with the money we make. And right now we're in the middle of a 4-episode series on principles of biblical finance. So what does the Bible teach about money? And this is really important for us who are Christians to know what the Bible teaches about money. And even if, again, you're not a Christian, it's important to see what does this ancient literature say about money and what principles and what wisdom can we learn from something that has survived for thousands of years. And so the 4 principles, again, that we're looking at, if this is the first one that you've tuned into, is number 1, beware of the money you love. Number 2, be generous with the money you have. Number 3, be prosperous with the money you make. And number 4, be wise with the money you manage. We already covered the first 2 on money you love and money you have. And today we're talking about being prosperous with the money we make. And the Bible teaches a lot about money, and a lot of that has to do with making money. And so let's get right into it. So again, what I believe is the Bible teaches us to be prosperous with the money we make. What if the Bible actually encouraged us to make lots of money? Would that surprise you? Well, again, the Proverbs are full of wisdom about money, and a lot of that is about making money and making lots of it. And so first, what are the Proverbs? If you've never heard of those, maybe you've heard of the Proverbs, but you don't really know. Well, the Proverbs are just the wise sayings by wise people. And an important note to make right away, I think, is that Proverbs are not promises. Right, they're principles, not promises. They're not guarantees. A proverb will make a bold statement, and that those statements will generally come to pass, but not always. Right, it's not guaranteed to happen. But before we get to how to be prosperous with the money we make, before we get to what the Proverbs say about how to prosper, let's first look about what it has to say about not prospering, right? And the Proverbs give 4 warnings against behavior that lead to poverty, not to prosperity. And so let's look at those first, right? 4 principles that lead to poverty, not prosperity. So number 1, laziness brings poverty. Laziness brings poverty. The Proverbs are littered with warnings against laziness. There's a whole bunch in there, and here are just a few, right? Proverbs 6, 9 through 11. How long will you lie there, you sluggard? When will you get up from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a bandit, and scarcity like an armed man, right? Referring to people that would rather just lay around, would rather just not do anything, and find themselves in poverty. Proverbs 22:13, the sluggard says, there's a lion outside, or I will be murdered in the streets. Right? They'll come up with any excuse that they can think of in order to not work, in order to be lazy. Proverbs 13:4, the sluggard craves and gets nothing, but the desires of the diligent will be satisfied. Proverbs 10:4, the lazy hands make a person poor, but diligent hands bring wealth. 13:18, those who ignore discipline come to poverty and shame, but whoever heeds correction is honored. In Proverbs 12:24, diligent hands will rule, but laziness ends in slave labor. And there's more in addition to that, but just think of some of this imagery, right? Poverty will come on you like a bandit, gets nothing, poverty and shame, slave labor. Those do not sound like fun outcomes. And so what do we mean by laziness today, right? And it can look like a lot of things, right? But it can look like showing up late for work and dawdling around while you're there, not really putting in the effort. Consuming entertainment instead of learning new skills or searching for jobs and work that better fits the skills you do have. Doing the bare minimum to get by at work, and then being upset when you're passed up for a promotion. There's lots of ways that we can be lazy and that we can not do as well as we are actually capable of doing. And certainly many factors lead to poverty. We're going to be talking about 4 here. And there's a lot more than that, right? Family and economic systems, mental health, substance abuse, choices earlier in life that can then weigh you down for years or decades to come. And the Proverbs aren't talking about those things, right? It's not talking about people that have other extrinsic variables that are keeping, some cycles of poverty in place. But and neither are we, right? That's beyond the scope of this podcast. But I'm just as certain that as many people that are out there that are in poverty because of some of these issues, at least here in America, that there are also some that are in it just because of laziness. They just don't want to do the work. They'd rather be entertained. They'd rather be, just sit around and not work as hard as they do, the bare minimum, right? And that will lead to poverty. And the Bible speaks out against that, and it contrasts it with its positive alternative, which we'll get to in a minute. But first, let's continue to look on some of these principles of poverty. So number one was laziness brings poverty. Number two, haste brings poverty. If you want, do you want to make a quick buck, right? You want to get rich quick? Well, not according to Proverbs. Here's just a couple from the Proverbs, like Proverbs 12:11. He who works with the hands will have abundant food, but whoever chases fantasies lacks judgment. Or Proverbs 20:28. A faithful person will be richly blessed, but whoever hastens to get rich will not go unpunished. And 21:5. The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. Haste brings poverty, right? Chasing fantasies bring poverty. And we've talked about this on the podcast before. Hey, people who want to get rich quickly end up losing it all. You have some people, right, that instead of investing, right, instead of the disciplined putting money into proven investments that grow over time, investing in the best business in the world, they speculate on risky ventures, and they're hoping to make a quick buck. They don't want to have the patience that it takes to build wealth over decades. They want it now, and so they speculate on cryptocurrency or whatever the latest fad is in order to make a quick buck, and they lose it. Or they're continually switching their investment strategies, right? They're chasing this investment because it did well, and then this one seems to be doing well, so they jump over here and they're chasing returns, always trying to get that highest possible gain, and they end up with substandard returns. And so if you're hasty in your approach to making money, you will not succeed. We can't chase fantasies. We can't be hasty. We must have the patience and discipline to do it right. So haste brings poverty. Number three, gluttony brings poverty. And here's, just honestly, here's some sobering proverbs, I think, for us here in America. Proverbs 21 has several, 17, 20, and 25. I'm just going to read them off here. Those who love pleasure will become poor. Those who love pleasure will become poor. Whoever loves wine and oil will never be rich. In the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil, but the foolish person devours all they have. A foolish person devours all they have. And the sluggard's craving will be the death of them because their hands refuse to work. So our craving, right? The desire for more entertainment, for more food. Whoever, loves wine or whoever loves food and drink and just wants to spend it all on their, people who just spend everything they get all the time on things, these people, it says, will never be rich. Proverbs 23:20-21 say this: don't join those who drink too much wine or gorge themselves on meat, for drunkards and gluttons become poor, and drowsiness clothes them in rags. It doesn't matter how much money we make if we spend it all on our pleasures, right? It doesn't matter how much money we earn if we squander 100% of it on food and drink and entertainment. We will never be prosperous if our chief goal is pleasure. And we see that a lot, right? There's a lot of people in America that they make decent incomes. They make enough income to build wealth and to be rich, but they spend all of it. They devour all they have, and they never make it, right? And I've seen households, right? They make $100,000 a year, and they give 10%, and they save 20% of their income, and they are already, or they are set up to be multimillionaires by the time they reach the end. Not because they make an extravagant income, but because they're just diligent with what they have. They do the right things over time. So again, you can have a household that makes $100,000, gives 10%, saves 20%, and then I've also seen households that make $400,000 that give nothing and struggle to save 3% of their income because they just spend it all. There's not necessarily a correlation between how much, after a certain point, right after your basic needs are met, there really isn't much of a correlation between how much money you make and how smart you are with it. You can make that decision at any time. And all the discretionary income of some people goes to their pleasure, and maybe even more, right, if their credit card debt is any indication. And they'll never be prosperous because you cannot out-earn gluttony. You cannot out-earn the propensity to spend everything you make on pleasure. So gluttony brings poverty. And lastly, dishonesty brings poverty, right? One of the common objections to those with high incomes is that when they achieve those incomes, dishonesty, right? And the Bible hates that too. Proverbs 22:1 says, a good name is more desirable than great riches, and to be esteemed is better than silver or gold, right? So, right, first strive to be a great person before you strive to get more money. And if you got that money, if you got your riches in a bad way, then woe to you, right? Proverbs 28:6, better a poor person whose walk is blameless than a rich person whose ways are perverse. Don't glorify the people who have a lot of money but got it in a horrible way, right? Proverbs 20:17, food gained by fraud tastes sweet, but one ends up with a mouth full of gravel. It's going to feel good at first to make money in an ill-gotten way, but it won't last. Proverbs 11:1, God hates cheating in the marketplace, but he loves when business is above board. And 21:6, a fortune made by a lying tongue is a fleeting vapor and a deadly snare. In our attempts to increase our income and be prosperous with the money we have, we must never resort to dishonesty or cheating, right? It'll never last. That you will be destroyed if we do that. So in our attempts to be prosperous with the money we make, to make more, to do well with it, to invest well, to build the money we have, we can never do it in a dishonest or cheating way. It's out of bounds. We can't do it. So dishonesty leads to poverty. So are we ready for some good news, right? We've talked about there's a few things that the Proverbs say about how to not build prosperity, how to end up in poverty. And so here's some good news, right? Among other principles, the Proverbs also give us two for being prosperous with the money we make. And number one, diligence leads to prosperity. Diligence leads to prosperity. And we actually saw the antidote to laziness and haste in the Proverbs we read, right? We focused on the laziness part of it, but let's just look at them again, right? Proverbs 13:14, the sluggard craves and gets nothing, but the desires of the diligent are fully satisfied. The desires of the diligent are fully satisfied. Proverbs 13:18, those who ignore discipline come to poverty and shame, but whoever heeds correction is honored. Proverbs 12:24, diligent hands will rule, but laziness ends in slave labor, right? And again, like we don't thankfully have slavery anymore here in America, but we do have people who are lazy and end up near slave labor because they never build any skills. And again, I'm not talking about any of the other things that could actually be causing this. Just of those people that really don't apply themselves and could do better, but just don't. They don't want to, and so they end up in really low paying jobs and it close to slave labor, and they could get out of it, but they just don't because they'd rather be entertained or spend their money on this, that, or the other thing. But those who are diligent end up being the bosses of those people and other things. So diligent hands will rule, but laziness ends in slave labor. The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. So instead of chasing off all these fantasies and trying to make a quick buck, what if we were just diligently applying ourselves to well-known and proven principles? And if you do those diligently, it will lead to a profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. And again, lazy hands make a person poor, but diligent hands bring wealth. Lazy hands make a person poor, but diligent hands bring wealth. Working hard, working diligently, consistency in our work, these are the things that bring wealth. And when you consistently work hard in your work, you get paid more, right? Studies have confirmed that consistency usually beats passion, right? So for example, now authors who write daily produce more and publish more books than authors that try to do it in bursts, right? Office workers who consistently achieve the little goals hit the big targets and get promoted. Tradespeople who constantly do good work day in and day out make more than those who are sporadic. And when you consistently do the right thing with your finances, you make more. One of the 7 pillars of financial victory that we've talked about is that we discuss is this principle of this pillar of discipline, right? Doing the little things repeatedly, contributing to your 401k every paycheck, funding your Roth IRA and HSA every month, increasing your savings rate with every pay raise. Diligently doing the right things leads unequivocally to wealth. It leads unequivocally to wealth if we diligently do them. And so where do we need to be more diligent, right? In our work, with our finances, because it leads to wealth. So if we're not on track, there's probably something we need to be more diligent in, and that's why the Proverbs encourage us to do this. And we need to know why, which is why our last principle here is that wisdom brings prosperity. Diligence brings prosperity, and wisdom brings prosperity. You can diligently work a plan, right? But it won't lead to wealth if it's a bad plan, right? If you diligently work a bad plan, it's still not going to work. And so you can save each month, right, diligently. But if you save just into a CD or an ultra-conservative fund in your 401k, you'll never prosper. You just won't get there. And this proverb is not about money, but it applies. And it changed my life the first time I truly read and understood it. And it's Proverbs 4:7, which says, "Wisdom is supreme, therefore get wisdom. Though it costs all you have, gain understanding." Like, man, wisdom is supreme. What a statement. What a principle. And here's another one like it, right? Proverbs 16:16. How much better to get wisdom than gold, to get insight than silver. Right? And so it's better to get wisdom. Wisdom is supreme. It's better than gold. It's better than silver. It's better than earning money or than having money, is to actually have wisdom. And in the Bible, God tells King Solomon that he'll grant him any wish you want. Just ask and you shall receive. And instead of asking for riches, Solomon asks for wisdom. And the Lord was so impressed that he gave him both. He gave him wisdom. It made him the wisest person on earth at the time. And therefore, he also became the richest person because of that wisdom. And so when you have wisdom, you will become wealthy. And we know this, right? Wisdom can help us earn more. We delay getting an income, usually early in our career, right? We delay that so we can get a university degree, or to apprentice for some trade, right? And our education imparts wisdom, not merely knowledge, and we can use that wisdom and that understanding to make a better income later. So we know that if we trade off, that if we sacrifice some income, some gold, some silver now, that we can gain some wisdom and we can make even more later. So wisdom can help us earn more. And wisdom can also help our money earn more. When we understand modern finance and or work with someone who does, we can save more and make more money without additional effort. This is not a get rich quick. This is not a get rich quick scheme, right? It's diligently applying wisdom over decades and decades for superior results. So wisdom is supreme. Therefore, get wisdom. Though it costs you all you have, gain understanding. So let me ask you this, right? Are you willing to pay for wisdom? What are you willing to pay for wisdom? One of our tenets here at Retirement Mentorship, right, is to increase your knowledge of finances. And you're getting that for free, right? This podcast is totally free. We give away tons of stuff to our Retirement members, all for free. We're trying to get wisdom out there. We want this to be available for people because of how much it can change their lives. But are you willing to pay for more wisdom than you get here? Because understanding modern finance may return 2 to 10-fold whatever you pay for it. And so get wisdom, right? Act diligently on it, and you will be prosperous with the money you make. The Bible teaches us to get rich, right? It doesn't teach us how to get rich. It just encourages us to do so, right? We just saw all these proverbs about working hard, working diligently, and that the outcome of those things. It doesn't tell us to pursue riches specifically, but it tells us to pursue certain behaviors, and those things lead to wealth. Of course, it also encourages us to give generously and commands us to avoid loving money. And isn't that what we want, right? When we combine all those things together. Now, let me ask you this, right? Do we want all the greedy jerks out there to make all the money and have all the money? No, that's not what we want. Compare that with folks who love people instead of money and who are generous and wise with the money that they make and manage. And wouldn't we all be better off having more people like that earn and own the money? Right? That's what we want. We want more of those people and want to be those people that love people more than money and that are generous and wise. And we want to earn more, give more, and own more of the money. So if you're a Christian, right, you should be the best employee, the best manager, or the best business owner around, right? You should work diligently and wisely and treat others in the workplace the way that the Bible teaches. And if we worked in a way that the Bible instructs us to live, wouldn't that make us the best employees, the best managers, the best business owners? Yes, it would. And if we're the best, wouldn't we also make more money to be generous with? Yes, we would. So the Bible doesn't, of course, I say the Bible teaches us to be rich, and really it does is it teaches us to do certain things that will, all else being equal, cause us to become in charge of more money. The Bible doesn't teach us to be poor. It teaches us to be prosperous. And if you make a lot of money, or a little for that matter, then you'd better manage it well. And we're going to cover that next week with our last installment of the biblical principles on finances, which is to be wise with the money you manage. We'll see you next week. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you did enjoy that, you would love being a part of our free membership community. It's called Retire Membership, and you can sign up today completely for free. When you do that, you get a host of bonus and exclusive content that we don't give out anywhere else. For example, you can buy my book, 3D Retirement Income, on Amazon, but if you become a Retire member, we will send you one for free or give you the audiobook and ebook just for signing up. You also get additional bonus content, exclusive content, including Client Corner insights from some of the best minds in behavioral investing, workbooks to go along with our workshops to help you get the most out of it, and more ongoing bonus and exclusive content. Some of this you can't get anywhere else, and so we would love for you to join our community. You can join now at retiremembership.com. Otherwise, there's a link in the description of this video where you can sign up. All we want to do is continue to give you the best information out there so that you can retire successfully and stay successfully retired. So you can go in there, do that on our website. There's also a longer form podcast. I think it's episode 80 that will help explain what it is and what we're trying to do with Retire Membership. But join now for free. Get this and much more exclusive content by joining us today. We look forward to seeing you there, and thanks for watching. Cheers.